What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe.
Kat, we all get excited for training camp. We all look forward to it. But as someone who covers the team, you don't need a weather update.
Actually, it's great to listen to the high being 100 today when the Saints are off today, and I don't have to go stand in it. I just sit in my AC all day and think about how much money it's going to cost to run the AC all day. It's great.
Yes, that is very fair. You do appreciate the off days during training camp as a player or coach, someone who covers the team. And so we appreciate you joining us on that off day. We were talking about LSU earlier and like things that we were most excited about or things that we were going to maybe pay closer attention to as camp starts today for LSU. But now the Saints, they're in camp. Like it's been days now. They've had padded practices. But what was the thing that you were trying to maybe eye hustle at the very beginning? Something or a player, a position group that you wanted to take a look at first, Kat?
Well, I think for maybe the third year in a row, everyone's wondering how Michael Thomas is going to perform, if he's going to stay healthy, how he looks, things like that. So, I think a lot of us looking at Michael Thomas, as everyone knows now, they signed Jimmy Graham right before camp, same deal. So really, the Saints, their identity for so many years was having a good offense, and the last 3 or so years, they've kind of been getting worse and worse. And so the fact that they could have a good offense here, I think, is exciting to fans, and that's kind of what people are looking at. They know that their defense is probably going to be pretty good. That's kind of been the cornerstone for a few years. So that's what I'm watching right now, how Derek Carr is working with his pass catchers.
I don't know that if we did a deep dive, probably find a comp for a guy like Michael Thomas. I mean, he was on like Hall of Fame level. Like he looked like he was going to have a gold jacket in Canton with the numbers he was putting up early in his career. And then we all know how the last couple of years have gone. Like there's just not a comp that I can think of. Like we've had guys that have been really, really good, but they're still on the field. They just don't produce at the same level. But like it's hard to find a comp. I mean, you're talking about an offensive player of the year, and so it's hard to put an expectation on what to expect from Michael Thomas, because are you going to get what we saw early in his career? Are you going to get another injury-plagued season? It's just so hard for us to like figure out what's going to happen. But for the Saints, like to kind of place him as receiver one when you've got Olave and you've got Rashid Shaheed and others trying to take over that spot, like, do the Saints view him, Kat, as like, hey, you're the number one guy. We are building this offense, not around you, but there's going to be a lot of things for you?
Actually, I think they kind of look at it differently now, and not really because of the injuries and things like that, but obviously that factors in. I think they look at their offense, and I was talking to an assistant coach the other day. He said, Michael Thomas is not going to have 149 catches this year, and he shouldn't. He said we have enough pieces around him that he's not going to have to do that. And I think that's always a good thing. I was joking with him and saying, if he has 149 catches, that probably means something else went very wrong. Someone got hurt. And so I don't think they feel like the offense has to be featured around him. They've added a lot of new faces. They've really tried to do everything that they could to turn this offensive issue around. And obviously it starts with the quarterback. That was a big part of the issues last year. But, I think last year also they did go into the season thinking, okay, Michael Thomas is finally healthy. This is the guy. And then it started out great, and then he gets hurt. And at that time, Chris Olave was a rookie, and Rashid Shaheed had a great conversation with him the other day. He was saying he only learned one position because a year ago he was an undrafted rookie who was hurt. Yeah. So now he's learning more positions. And they have Jamal Williams now. So they have a lot more pieces now so that he doesn't have to be the focal point of the offense.
Another position that they've got a couple of pieces, Kat, that we were really worried about, certainly after the draft, because they didn't select a tight end. But now you look up and you look at the tight end room. I mean, they're going to be part of the pieces that we're talking about on offense. And you've got multiple tight ends. You have multiple different skill sets as well in that room. I mean, you have four guys that at least we think right now are going to be up on game day ready to go.
Yeah, it's a very interesting room. You have Taysom Hill, who said he's pretty much done everything except really be a receiver. I think that I think in 18 maybe it was he caught 19 passes, and that was the most he's ever caught in a season. Might be wrong on those numbers, but they haven't really featured him as a pass catcher the last few years. He
Right.
said they wanted to do more of that. We'll see if that happens. But have Juwan Johnson, who they re-signed, really, I feel like, I say up and coming, but he led all the pass catchers in touchdowns last year. Foster Moreau has already proved himself. The big question is Jimmy Graham. How much did they get out of Graham at 36? And I really don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And it's weird for me because I covered Graham the first time around. He was catching 16 touchdowns a year. But if he's got something left, I think that's a really fascinating room to figure out how they all fit together.
Yeah, so we feel good about the skill position players for the New Orleans Saints. I think one of the question marks as we continue breaking down the offense has to be the offensive line. Now, because of injuries and Trevor Penning, and I've had Liz Frank, I mean, it is a brutal injury, and coming back from it, it is very difficult, and it's hard to even feel like yourself once you do come back from that injury. So we'll see where his health and what his status is, but he's not the only guy. I mean, you bring in Trey Turner for a reason, and then he gets hurt, and then now Trey Turner's out. So do the Saints bring in another veteran player like that? It just feels like there's question marks because of health, because of inconsistency. I mean, Andrews Pete, surprise, surprise, yet again, right? He goes out with an injury. So where are you at with the offensive line right now?
Yeah, right now, as I see it, I feel like Pete's job is not safe, even if he comes back healthy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think that was kind of obvious when he took a pay cut to come back. It's usually in those situations it's pay cut or be cut. And so I think just as it is right now, it seems like James Hurst probably has the lead on that left guard spot, and then they're going to want to play Penning at left tackle. I really think they want their first-round pick starting this year. Whether he's ready or not, I don't know, because not only did he have, the Liz Frank injury, he had the toe injury at the beginning of last season. So, for him, he's barely even gotten time to play. So there are some concerns about the offensive line as a whole, which is kind of unfortunate because I felt like I wrote as recently as 2 years ago that they were the best unit on the team. But, that's just how it goes sometimes with injuries.
Yeah, and you've put so much draft capital into that offensive front, multiple first-round picks. I mean, early first-round picks, and you've really said, hey, even a second-round pick in Eric McCoy. I mean, you have put so much into it, and so obviously it's something that you thought you had shored up. But I want to ask you if Hurst goes down to guard and he's kind of your swing tackle, where does the depth go there then? Because who would be that swing tackle for you? Would it still be Hurst, and then you throw in another guard? If Andrews Pete is healthy, he would just be the guy that inserts himself?
Well, it definitely, Hurst has proved that he can play, multiple spots. So I guess you move him inside, he could still be he'd probably be backup left tackle number one.
Yeah.
But, Landon Young can also be a backup tackle. So there are a couple of guys, but the way they keep signing guards makes me think that they are concerned about that, as they have a right to be. It makes total sense why they went and got Trey Turner, a veteran who could compete for that spot. He gets hurt immediately, and then you can't rely on Andrews Pete to play a full season. So really your backup tackles right now are Landon Young and Hurst, and they're just going to have to keep looking for guards. I don't think that there's some savior out there. I think it's going to be like waiver wire claims and things like that. But we'll see.
Kat, let's go across the ball. Let's talk some defense. And obviously, when the defensive conversation on this show starts, it usually goes to edge rusher and who's going to be opposite Cam Jordan. And we've talked a lot and in many, many conversations about a guy like Peyton Turner. Now, also Carl Granderson because of what he's done as well. But Peyton Turner, he's somebody with Marcus Davenport doesn't help Peyton Turner. You have this guy who's a first-round pick. You trade up for him, and he has flashes, but never really panned out the way you thought he was going to. And then you draft another edge rusher in Peyton Turner, and kind of the same situation. He just hasn't been on the field. Where is Peyton Turner right now with this New Orleans Saints team?
Well, I'm reluctant to even say this because, as you know, people can look great in camp, and then in the regular season they just disappear. It happens all the time. It's happened with Turner before, although his main issue has been injuries. I think that he's had a lot of nice days at camp. I thought yesterday, when they were in the pads, he had a really great day. I noticed, he had a lot of pressures. He had a nice run stuff. But, it's not enough. He's got to just keep doing this day after day throughout camp because they drafted Isaiah Foskey, and he is a guy I have not noticed at all, which, as a rookie, that's, to be expected. So Turner's got to take a huge step up because if he doesn't, I truly don't know what that pass rush is going to look like. I mean, Cam Jordan is not getting any younger. Carl Granderson, I think, had a nice end to the season last year, and I think, he is an improving player. But, where's that next superstar pass rusher? They haven't found it yet. As you said, they tried to find it in Davenport, and he showed flashes, but there's just been no one who's done it consistently. So right now, pass rush is a concern, but I feel like once we get to the preseason games, if Turner can put something together there, then maybe I'll be more willing, I guess, to believe that, hey, maybe he's going to take that next step in his third year. But so far, so good.
Yeah, and then last year you had to be creative because you had to find something opposite Cam Jordan, and that was Caden Ellis from the linebacker position. Like, he gave you rush ability, and then now he's an Atlanta Falcon, and so it's like, okay, well, who can take over that spot? That's not easy. And, as far as middle linebacker goes, like, you feel really good about Demario Davis and Pete Warner, but after that, then that gets cloudy as well. And so, like, there's a couple of positions where you feel good about the initial depth, but it's like, okay, well, who's going to take over that Caden Ellis role? Is there anybody? And what if Demario goes down? I mean, if Demario Davis goes down, Kat, on this football team, like, that's a doomsday situation for them.
Yeah, I think the linebacker depth is the biggest concern on the team. They just had another injury yesterday when Andrew Dow went down for the season. And, Dow, his main role was special teams, but, that's really important too. And now that's depth that they don't have anymore.
Right.
That was unexpected, as camp injuries always are. And so when you look at just the linebacker group as a whole, yeah, maybe they're a team that can get away with having a little less depth because they play so much nickel. But, yeah, if Damario's not playing, I mean, you can say that about any team if they lose their star player, but that is highly concerning. I do think that DeMarco Jackson has looked really good all throughout summer. At least he's made a lot of plays. I've noticed his name a lot. I noticed he made a play yesterday. He was hurt last year in his rookie season, so it's not a name that a lot of casual fans know. But other than that, I think they're going to have to look for another linebacker. And I feel like the Saints are often in this position. It's often like coming up in September and they have to trade for a linebacker or add another one. But usually they're not giving up too much to that at that point in the season. It just wouldn't surprise me if they have to kind of resort to that.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.